Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the channel. I am Stylosa and I have a very special guest today. I've got Mr. Kirioth. If you are fans of Unit Lost from the olden days, you will know who Mr. Kirioth is. Hello Mr. Kirioth.
Hello. Oh my god, this is weird. You've changed the decor, the wallpaper's different. It's funky, I like it.
Good lord. So what this is an interview with a rank, what rank are you?
45.
A rank 45
he says,
player
shamefully.
on Overwatch. Well, hang on a minute, we'll get into this. So if you watch my previous video where I spoke about the rating system, so Jeff Kaplan, just to quickly recap that, he said, he went into detail on the ranks, right? So if you're rank 60 or above, you're essentially like Grandmaster's level, to use the StarCraft 2 comparison. But 60 doesn't sound very good, does it? It's like, well, what's 60? That seems pretty low, right? That's not 70, it's not 80, it's not 90. I mean, what is that rank? Now, Mr. Kirioth would be in a rank 48, did you say, or 47? Whatever he is. 45. I've got 48 in my head.
It's because I started out at 48. I was placed at 48, and then I had an interesting time.
Well, we'll get onto that. So, with him being that rank, you would think, right, if you were rank 50, you were average, but that's not the case. So, there's a website called Overbuff. You can also do this on Master Overwatch, but I'm just going to use Overbuff because it's simpler to use. So, when I go to my profile, I'm ranked 65 at the moment, which doesn't really sound that impressive. But actually, it's top 5% of players worldwide, or based off the data that Overbuff collects, which is really good, right? That means that obviously I'm fairly decent at the game. Well, I'm pretty good at the game if I'm in that rank. But then if we look at Mr. Kirioth's, and very unprofessional, I don't even have the thing open. Here we go, I've got it open. He's ranked 45, but it's saying he's skill rank 22%, which means, if I'm any good at maths, it means that you're in the lower, like that is not 50%. It seems like it's close to 50 because it's 45 skill rating, but it's actually like the bottom 22% of players.
It is
now
not the place you want to be.
No, it sounds harsh, but the question is, we want to try and work out with this interview like what it's like and what is actually going on at that level, because I know a lot of you guys who watch the channel, you're not my skill rating. I know there's some guys out there who are way above my skill rating and playing teams and all of that. I've said before, when I play the game, I'm playing it almost all of the time in a ranked team. So I've got 6 guys, or, well, no, I've got 5 guys, or maybe I play with like 4 guys and we have like 1 random. But we kind of got to the point now where we've gone through into the 60s and everybody kind of has a good understanding of the game. Now, this is where I think it really falls apart in the lower ranks, because I think people don't really do basic stuff they should be doing. But I just want you to tell us what happened during your placement games, who you played with as well, so like what, how many friends you played with and all of that stuff, and how it is now that you're actually into the, I guess, the real competitive mode.
Yeah, well, I mostly play either solo or duo or trio. It's either solo or trio mostly. The placement matches were, again, interesting is probably the word. The very first placement match I had was King of the Hill, and the entire enemy team but one left within the first 2 minutes of the game. So that was crazy. That was like, what is going on? This is competitive mode. Why are people just abandoning ship? What's happening? I actually had 2 more games in total where either the enemy team left, or on one occasion all of my team left. Now, this isn't a whole group. Like, this wasn't a team of 6 people, like 6 coordinated groups of people. These were just like random strangers who, for whatever reason, one of them left, and then another one went, I'm out of here as well. They left, so on and so forth. The placement matches actually weren't too bad. I mean, I came out of the placement matches with, I believe, 6 wins, 4 losses, which, is reasonable. It's all right. And the 6 wins were pretty good. Like, people seemed to know what they were doing. There was a decent amount of coordination. Not always voice. In fact, it was very rarely voice. I have noticed that the voice comms do not get used. Ever. Like, there's just no activity on voice comms whatsoever around this kind of rank. But people did sort of, they'd say, oh, we could do with switching this, or I'm switching out to that, there's someone over there, all this kind of thing. And, the wins were alright. The losses were pretty bad. They were like classic examples of what you don't want to do. Like, for instance, if you're playing Mercy, it's generally best not to run face first towards the enemy team in front of your own team, for instance. I saw a couple of instances of that. It's also really not a good idea to trickle in, as we all know, but that goes on a lot. The placement matches actually set me up for thinking that it was going to be better than it actually is. So during the placement matches, the wins especially, I was like, this is not bad, this is pretty good. If I'm playing with players of this skill level, of I guess equal or similar skill level to me, then I should be fine. And then I actually got into ranked proper, and I was ranked initially at 48. I went up to 49, and then plummeted massively down to 45. And even the difference between, I guess, 49 and 45 is quite stark. Like 49, there was some even fights going on. You know, I never felt like it was particularly a stomp on either side. Generally speaking, it was fairly even, and it just came down to, you know, someone made a particularly good play, or one team was, you know, that bit more coordinated than the other. It descends really quickly, though, into just, like, basic misunderstandings. So, for instance...
Yeah, well, I think, like, that's a good thing you raised, like, the 49, like, I can see the graph on Overbuff, so you got to 49 and now you're down to 45. If you were 55 or managed to get into the 50s, I think you'd see a dramatic change in the way the game actually plays. Because when I originally did my placement games, I came out at rank 52, and I played with a team, and I think I got up to about rank 56, and then I did a couple of solo queue games, and it wasn't the greatest experience. It wasn't as good as the team I was playing in, because obviously we were all communicating, right?
Yeah.
We were setting up properly in defenses, we were calling out, you know, if Tracer's behind and all of that stuff, whereas that wasn't really happening at that level. But now, I solo queued before we actually recorded this video, and it was great. I went in, I said, hey guys, and it was like, oh my god, is that actually Stylosa? I'm like, yeah, it is. And some guy was like, hang on, he plays on NA. I'm like, no, he don't. He's from England. How would he play in NA? So whatever. Anyway, it was a good game, right? The team were on the microphone. There was a guy who wasn't on the microphone, but he was actually talking in the chat.
Yeah.
Everybody pushes a unit, everybody defends as a unit, and we would have won, but a guy left on the enemy team for whatever reason. So, no, left on our team, sorry, for whatever reason, so we just left the game. Because if you stay in the game and try and win with the man down, you're going to lose XP, which is stupid, so you just leave the game. That's what everyone does, so whatever. But I mean, I'm looking at your page right now, and I don't think you're a bad player. And I'm looking at Roadhog, and I'm looking at your soldier stats. I mean, I look at your soldier stats, and it says you're in the top 30% for soldier damage, yet your rank is the bottom 22%. That's like completely opposite.
Yeah.
When I look at Roadhog, it's like top 27% damage, top 28% eliminations, top 15% objective kills. So what that tells me, and top 23% objective time, that tells me that you're killing people on the objective and doing quite a lot of damage as Roadhog. You're a tank, you should be on the objective. So from these stats, it's like, okay, he's actually doing his job. This is the problem with Overwatch, and this is why I'm a bit like, this is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I think there's a shitload of people out there who are good at the game, but are going into this ELO hell. And I've got to be honest, I've never really accepted ELO hell as a thing. I've always been of a mind of, you know what, if you're good enough, you're going to get out of it. And I think that kind of applies. If you just smash your head against it and just keep playing game after game after game after game, provided you're doing well, provided you're getting the gold medals and you're actually doing something to assist the team, you should get out of that. You should get out of it. But that's the thing, you should. Problem with Overwatch is, I guess it is similar to things like League of Legends and Dota, where you need to be in a team together, right? You need to... Well, you actually kind of don't, do you? That's not right, really, because in Overwatch, all the characters, all the players on the team, you have to attack together, and then you have to defend together. You can't just go off. It's not like a guy's in the jungle, or a guy's up top lane, or whatever. It's like, no, you've got to work as a team, and that sort of... That understanding, I think... I mean, from what you've told me, it's just not even there at this level. So below that, it's just going to get worse.
I'd say that is absolutely, you've hit it on the head. The problem with Overwatch at the kind of level that I'm at is that there's far too much of, in a way, a random element. Like, you can go into a game with a full six-man group, and obviously you've got that communication set up already. You already know how each other play. You know who's good at what. You know, you've got that kind of inbuilt knowledge for the people you're playing with. You don't get that going in solo, duo, or even trio, because even the trio, you only make up half the team. You don't know the other three people. You don't know, how good they are with anyone, or if they even know what they're doing. And you can sometimes get that communication. Like, you can communicate and form a plan with strangers, but there's more chance, from what I've seen, of the strangers just doing whatever the hell they like. Like, there's no actual concerted effort to try and get together and make the push. There's trickling. There's no concerted effort to try and cause some sort of distraction, even just flanking or something. Like, there's no actual team play involved, and that's the main issue. It's like, it is a team game, but people aren't playing it as a team game. Like, if the payload is moving, I mean, one of the reasons I get so much objective time is because, as Roadhog, I stand on the damn payload because, well, you kind of need someone to stand on the payload for it to move. I cannot count the number of times where the payload has started moving and the entire team has just split off into different directions. Reaper will go to the left.
Let me just stop you there. So what will happen at my level with the payload is, like, say King's Row, first point. You win the first point, so the payload starts to come out. Your tanks, your supports maybe, will sit on the payload. Your offensive characters will rush forward, so your soldiers, your Pharahs, your McCrees, your whatever. But it'll only be like 2 or 3 of them will go forward and start harassing the enemy team just to try and maybe pick somebody off. They don't just all run off and leave the payload, or just leave like a Roadhog on the payload. You see, I'm not really a fan of a Roadhog being on a payload. I mean, he shouldn't be. Roadhog can heal himself, so Roadhog should be supplementing that push forward. But this is just players at the level I'm at. They kind of understand that, and I don't think they understand it at the lower levels. But I think I'd say that's more of an advanced tactic, right? To understand on that level, you've got to have played a lot of games. But just basic stuff of knowing that you need to stay together as a team and you need to attack as a team. It just seems quite apparent that that just isn't there. But this is the big problem. How do you communicate to your team and say, hey guys, we need to get together and we need to push forward? Because you know what's wrong with me, right? When I play this game, and even if I was a lower rank, or even with the rank I am right now, when people, they recognise me a lot. So I think they try better. They try harder. They're like, they don't want to play crap. They're not going to be toxic as much. They're not going to be as bad. So it's generally like, it's quite well-mannered. Like, I did think for a while it'd be interesting to get a Smurf account and just purposely de-rank myself, but then I went against that idea because I don't want to wreck people's games, by just playing shit. I want to actually, that wouldn't sit very well with me. So this is actually a better idea, to speak to somebody who is down like in those ranks. But like I'm saying to you here, these stats that I'm looking at on your page, I don't think they're indicative of somebody of that, what the game has given you a skill level. Like, if you got luckier with the people you were playing with, you could possibly be up, like, honestly, these are stats that should be up around like 53, 54, 55, something like that, I reckon. Which is such a massive, massive jump ahead of, like, to go from 50 to 55 is massive. The game just doesn't really reflect that quite well. I see people talking to me on Twitter and they say things like, oh, I'm rank 52. And my friend's like rank, I don't know, 61. Well, that is like a world of difference. That is a shitload of difference. Or even if your friend's 57 and then your other friend is, 66 or 67, that again is quite a big difference.
Well, this is I've got first-hand experience
like raw
of this.
Skill level.
Like, one of the guys that I play with regularly, he's ranked 54 at the moment. He got placed at 55. He went up, then he made the mistake of playing with me and my other friend, and we dragged him down with us. And but he's now back up to like 54. And he comes out of games, like, we talk to each other on Skype all the time. He comes out of games and he's like, oh man, that went for 5 rounds, but we won in the end, and we did like a team push, or we managed to get together and we managed to stop them from taking the point. Or he comes back with like just endless, I guess, positive experiences. Even the losses aren't that bad because at least it was a close game. Whereas I'm coming out either having like just stomped all over because I've got lucky and the people on my team just know more about what they're doing than the people on the other team, or I end up with uncoordinated people. Now I know there's probably gonna be people listening and be like, if you're this rank, why are you kind of making out like you're so much better than other people? I don't necessarily think I'm some kind of like MLG pro, but I understand the basics of the game, and when I see stuff like Reaper disappearing off into the distance the first chance he gets, and then I never see him again in the rest of the game, and all I ever see is a kill feed with his name, and he just comes over and over again, he's just dead, then he runs past me, then he disappears, then he dies, then he runs past me, then he disappears, and he not once touches any objective. I kind of have to assume that he doesn't have the basics down. Same thing with like, there's kind of a mix of kind of advice about what you should be playing and sort of outright hostility, and it's very odd. Like, someone, for instance, will say to me, don't play soldier against Pharah. And I just
Hang on, what?
I was like, I think I'll continue playing soldier if that's okay. And they said, well, don't blame me if we lose. And I'm kind of thinking, that's, I mean, you know, that's just, they've got the wrong end of the stick. You know, they haven't read up, they haven't seen.
Let's break this down, because I think what we got here, we got a case of like, obviously you would have like low skill players in the like they can't aim and they don't understand the game, but then you get players who are actually quite good at FPS games but don't understand the game. See, Overwatch is a game about balance, right? You need to understand what the enemy heroes are going to do, what your heroes are going to do on your team, and like your positioning and stuff. And I reckon you can easily get to a point, possibly into the 60s, through just game understanding. Because if you're a very good tank character, or you're a very good Mercy, or you're a very good healer, and you understand, like, let's say Mercy, so you understand when to res, you understand how to charge your ultimate, you understand how to keep yourself alive. That's an understanding of the game that propels you to a level of that is much higher. Then once you start getting into like rank 50, like, I don't know, 65 plus, that's when suddenly skill, like raw mechanical skill, comes back into the game in a big way. Like if you're very good at, like, say, like me, for example, say if you want to play a soldier, right? So say if you're good with soldier and you can aim all the time, your accuracy is pretty good, you're tracking targets, you're good at predicting with the Helix rocket, you're good at healing and supplementing healing the team, you know where to position yourself on every map, so you've got the knowledge, you know what targets to prioritize. So if you see a Mercy, you want to shoot her, you know, you're going to ignore people like Winston if he chucks his dome down, although sometimes you might want to burn through the dome. There's a lot of different ways, but once you've got that understanding and you've got that skill, then you're at the highest level of the game. And then you start going into like realms of craziness, like, you know, and whatever. But if you don't have, but like, you cannot just be good at accuracy and play soldier and think that you're gonna like carry the team, because this isn't Counter-Strike. A lot of people seem to think like in games like Counter-Strike, right? You would be a lower rank because your accuracy isn't that great compared to me, and I would be a higher rank. But in Overwatch, what's the I mean, I look at your weapon accuracy with Roadhog here, and it's actually in the top 8%. It's like, well, that's pretty good, right? I know it's a shotgun. I know it's like got a spread, so you're going to hit most of the time. But that shows that you understand when to be firing the weapon, you know, when to hook people. And like I said, all the other stats, they show an understanding of the game. And this is what really pisses me off with Overwatch. And I don't know how Blizzard are going to fix this, because I think, when we go back to this idea of ELO hell, I honestly believe there is an ELO hell in this game. There is players who are lost at lower levels that should not be there, but they cannot get out of there because they keep getting matched with people who just don't know what they're doing. Like, I mean this with the greatest of respect, like, but they don't know what they're doing in terms of just basic stuff like, let's push the team, let's not be toxic in the chat, let's, you know, if a guy's telling you don't play soldier against a Pharah, that's insane. I mean, maybe he's playing the game right now because he's like, you should play McCree because he's so OP or something like that. But he's not. Like, that is crazy advice. Like, I had a guy in a game who refused to join voice chat. This is when I was playing with a guy called Valkyr, and we were actually, you know, we were fairly high rank at the time, and he refused to join the group chat and talk to the team because a guy was playing Mercy on our team, and he said Mercy is no good. You need to play Lucio. What? It's like what? Like, so we're like on the microphone. It's like, what? What are you talking about? Like, and the guy's like, you know, typing in the chat. No, we need Lucio. Lucio's much better. Like, you know, the Mercy's blah, blah. And it's like, what? Mercy is like great. What? Yeah. You know, it's like things like that which they baffle you sometimes, and it's just like, how can they say things like that when it's so obvious that that's not the case?
And I think there's also kind of a weird combination that you get sometimes as well, which I've noticed, which is people who kind of, they know roughly what to do, but like the timing is off. Like Overwatch, timing is quite a big thing. Like if you push at the wrong time, then you're gonna have a harder time with it, aren't you? Than if you know, correctly judge what you're doing. And you'll have people who will say things like the example I'm always going to remember is a Reinhardt who stated, I've got my ult, group up with me, we'll go in, I'll lay it down. You know, he was communicating, that was great. And we were all ready to group up. But two of us got to him, and he decided that 3 people was enough to go up against 6 and charged off. Now, he had the idea right there. Like, that's absolutely the right thing to do. group up, shield in, and then just, you know, go in. When he calls it, go in. But he didn't actually wait for the people to arrive to make the plan a success. Instead it was, oh, we've got a few people, I'm sure it'll be fine. Funnily enough, 3 versus 6, you know, Earthshatter or not, we sort of died immediately. And then the other 3 were just left hanging around. Which, again, the trickle is unreal. I'm all in favour of not trickling. I pretty much do my level best to, if I'm the only person alive, I do not run in. Like, I'm not necessarily going to hide, but I'm not going to charge in. I'm going to make sure that I can't just be, like, wiped out, because that's obviously really bad. But you do get so many players who, I think they get tunnel vision, and it's like, that is the objective. To win the game, I must be on the objective or protecting the objective from the other team. Therefore, I must be on it at all times. Oh, I've died. Oh, so has everyone else. Well, I'll just go in by myself because someone needs to be on the objective. And we're not talking kind of last minute, you've got to contest this, it's gone into overtime, you've got to try and contest it. We're talking like a minute into the game and the trickling begins. You just have a steady stream of people dying, respawning, running in by themselves, dying, respawning. Now, if you can get them all to group up, then, you know, usually you can salvage it a bit. But actually getting them to group up is really difficult because there's just this kind of fixation of, this is where I must be. It's like my people need me, I must go. And then they're just away. And it's like,
it seems like I think there's a massive problem with people thinking that they can just go off and kill the enemy team before like the time. You know, like I'm playing Widow, I'm just going to push forward and like kill the enemy team. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, because they're all standing together. Or I'm going to play, you know, Pharaoh and just jump forward and take out the enemy team. Or I'm just going to jump in, go behind them and ulti them. And it's like, well, okay. And then you're dead straight away. It's like, hang on, now we've got a 5v6. That's not going to work. I think you get a lot of that where players think they can sort of carry the game, like by engaging the enemy when the odds are totally against them. Like, I'm just going to say this right now. The worst thing you can do in Overwatch is die. Do not die. If you die at any point, then it's 5v6. The enemy team have got the advantage there, unless your team get really lucky with ultimates. And kind of going back to what you said about understanding, like when to attack and when not to attack, it's kind of basic, right? So if you kill one of the enemy defenders, now is the time to attack. I'm joking. You go in, right? Because you're a man up, so you've got the advantage. Also, like, coordinating ultimates as well. Now, with Anna, who's the new hero, her ultimate is Nano Boost, which they totally should have called Stimpak, but it's Nano Boost. And when you get this, you get 50% increased damage, 50% increased damage reduction, 30% increased speed. That's really powerful. So if a Genji on your team has got his ultimate available, and you Nano Boost him, he goes in, he's going to do work on the enemy team because now he's 50% more solid, which is bad news, right? That's like a level of coordination that could open the enemy team up. Yeah. And it's not even that difficult to do. You know, it just comes down to spamming, I think it's bound to Z or something, or X, the ultimate timer, if you're playing on PC, that is, guys. But again, it just comes down to communication. It's this basic layer of just, guys, let's... I mean, it's really, like, I would really like to watch these games go down. Like, sit there and watch how the enemy... Like, you can't spectate in competitive games, which is kind of annoying, because it would be nice to, like, watch you play a competitive game and just see, like, what the enemy team are doing, how they're talking. Because, like I said, I get loads of feedback from guys who are fans of the channel and follow me on Twitter and all that stuff, and it's like, my team are terrible. It's just toxic behaviour all the time, and I try to help. I try to say things like, do we really need 2 Hanzos? Because do you really need 2 Hanzos?
The 2 Hanzo thing, you know, I've come across it twice, and both times I'm just... You can't... It's like... The other thing is, it's very difficult to... I say it's very difficult to keep you calm. I will politely tell someone, I'll be like, I don't think we need 2 of those. If they say, I don't care, I'm doing it anyway, then I'm not going to pursue it. If they then say, well, what would you do? Then, I mean, I'll tell them, but I'm not going to try and force anyone to do anything. But this is where, again, this is where I'm pretty sure that the thing that would get a good number of people out of, like, the 45 kind of range, or, you know, wherever ELO hell they feel they're in, if people just communicate it. Like, doing it via text is all very well, but it's a lot harder to bash out a sentence in the middle of a firefight than it is to, in my case, hold caps lock and talk into the mic. But
do you think this is a problem though with like just if you go back to the understanding thing, if people are seriously saying do not play soldier against Farah, that's a complete like that guy might think he or she is helping the team by going, oh, we don't need a soldier, we need a Reaper against Farah or something ludicrous. It's like what? That makes no sense. That's like a complete misunderstanding of the game. But that player may be convinced that that is correct and will keep spamming the chat with it, keep shouting over the microphone, and then gets more and more angry, and then the team morale goes down, and then your chance of winning goes into the shitter. That's a problem, because like, you know, when I play, like, I'm quite honestly, I said I was never going to play solo queue again, but now it's quite nice. Solo queue is when I go into it. It's just like the team will pick the heroes at the start. We'll look at the team. Everybody will be on the microphone, and it will just be like, maybe we should get a second tank. And then the guy who's playing Reaper will go, yeah, sure. And then Roadhog appears, and then we've got a Reinhardt and a Roadhog, or a Zarya and a Reinhardt, or you know, or maybe let's get a secondary support, and then Lucio appears instead of that. I don't know, McCree or something. It's so nice to play it, and it's still right. It's not relaxing, right? Because you still don't know who these players are, but you would expect them to have some sort of understanding when they get up into the 60s. Problem is, when you're down in the lower 50s and below that, I mean, it just seems quite clear from what you've told me that the players don't really understand like the really, really simple stuff. And honestly, I think
it does seem like it's the fundamentals.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who's played Overwatch for any amount of time should know. Don't trickle in. Attack when you've killed one of the enemy team, especially if they're bunched up or something. I mean, for God's sake, you can just go straight in, and don't charge headlong into like massed firepower. So, for instance, if you know there's a Bastion around the corner, unless you're going to Genji it or get boosted with Reinhardt with your shield up or something, for the love of God, don't just walk out. But people do, and it is like the very fundamentals of the game are missing from a good number of people in this bracket. And the thing is, it's like hopefully I do at least slightly so, and I can know what I'm talking about. I'm obviously not perfect because I've managed to sort of fall down to this skill rating that I'm at. But at the same time,
would you honestly say that the games that you've played, the loss has been like, has there been an instance where you've done something and thought, oh shit, if I did something else there, I probably could have won? I mean, this has happened to me quite a lot. Like how, like most of the time, it centers around like ultimate use. It'll be, oh god, if I just used my ultimate then. Like with Soldier, I was having this predicament for a while of using his ultimate, like almost saving it a little bit too much. When really I should be using it a bit more than I was, because you can wipe out Mercy with it, and Mercy is the one who's going to res the entire enemy team after they all die and cancel out like a Farah ultimate or something like that your team have just used on them. So has there ever been any instances where you thought, shit, if I'd done that we would have won?
I can think of two. One of them was actually Soldier, where I knew that Farah had her ult, enemy Farah had her ult, and we were clustered, and I don't know why, but instead of just activating it and drilling her as soon as I saw her, because I was off to the side and I wasn't clumped up, because I knew she was coming, and it was like, I need to find her, and I didn't activate my ult straight away. I took a few shots before I actually, you know, launched the ult off, and as a result, she used her ult, hit me first, killed me, and then wiped out the rest of the team. That was my own fault, where I was just like, why did I not do that? Like, that was just like a moment of idiocy where I just didn't do what I should have done. And the only other time I can think of was actually playing Roadhog, and it was against an enemy Roadhog where I thought I saw him use his hook, and so I knew I was safe to ult and blast them off the point, and you know, we'd be all hunky-dory. The team was behind me. He hadn't used his hook. I don't know what I'd seen, but I must have just made it up in my head that he had, because I launched into my ult, he hooked me instantly, cancelled it, and I died. And then the rest of the team got wiped, because instead of their team being, you know, scattered to the four winds, instead they got hit with like one shot of it, and then I just, you know, collapsed all over the floor. But
well, it's hard. The thing is, though, it's hard to say that if you'd pull those ultimates off, that it would have resulted in a win, because you don't really know what would have happened after the fact. But let's just say it would have resulted in 2 extra wins. That means that you would have had a record of 11 wins and 11 defeats. So it would have been like a 50-50. That would have been 50% win rate, which would have been, you know, probably fairly decent. And it's like, would that have kept you at like 49? Would that have like prevented this drop? Would that have maybe pushed you forward? It's hard to tell. Like,
yeah,
it's frustrating to me to listen to it, because like part of me wanted to just see what would have happened to me if I just played solo queue and just like did solo queue competitive placements and then just started playing solo queue. Because if I was at rank 52 after I did my placements with the guys, then what would have happened? Like, because at that level, do they understand the game enough? or is it like, don't they? Well, am I going to get really frustrated? I mean, I did have a couple of solo queue games which were really toxic, and players were just getting really abusive, and I don't know why. And I'm like, hang on a minute. But as I say, that doesn't happen anymore because I've gone to a higher rank now. So it's like this. I don't know. It's like this lost. Well, it's not lost because there's a lot of guys playing there, but it is to me, and it's like I don't have the experience of that, and I want to know what can be done to help players out and just say, look, guys, this is what you need to be doing. Because I've made loads of guide content, and it's all been centered around the heroes. There's been some tactical stuff. There's been like the counterclass stuff that I've made where, you know, it explains what heroes are good against other heroes. You know, so I'll say like Soldier pretty good against Pharah, and things like that.
It's honestly,
just to give people the knowledge. But it seems to me, from what you've said, it's just a case of they don't. The trickling in is a really bad problem. I guess at the lower levels, you shouldn't trickle in. Like, never trickle in. Never ever run back to a point unless you are just trying to keep it alive for some mad reason, or you're like Mercy and you're trying to get in there to res your whole team because they're all dead on the point, or you know it's going into overtime and you're just jumping on the point to keep it alive. You don't run into that first point on Hanamura after your whole team has been killed. You've died first, you respawn, you do not run back to the point. You set up at point 2 and you wait for them to come in, because they're going to come in as a full team and you're going to be on your own and you're going to die, and then, well, it's a 6v5 and you're probably going to lose. Like, you get the really rapid snowball effect, don't you, on Hanamura, because the point's so close. That only happens when your team that is defending do not understand the point is lost at the first one. I've never seen that happen when I've been playing in that full team I've been playing with and at the level I've been playing now. Everybody knows the point's gone, we fall back, and then you defend at that point. You don't lose to the snowball thing because you're not running back to the fucking point and you're all getting caught out in the open and dying.
Yeah, I've seen it twice so far, and I mean both times it's like my general rule is that if there's at least 2 people with me and there's 3 people on the point and I'm at the door, like I'm at the going out of the like, what is it, the dojo, whatever you want to describe it as, where Genji and Hanzo have their little scrap. If you get to that point, you've got a couple of people with you, and there's 3 enemy on the first point, just stop and turn around. There's no point, because they're going to get there at least slightly before you. You've got a bit of a longer run, and if you do get there and somehow stall it a little bit but still die, the chances are they're still going to get it, and you're going to be dead when part of their team gets to the second point. Just don't do it. Having said that, twice I've watched that point. There's 6 people on it. Like, you can see, like, it shows you how many people are on the point, don't it? It's like, it clearly says 6. The wheel is like 3/4 of the way around, and there are people running out the front door towards it. And I'm just sort of standing there in the main room, just kind of looking at them going, please don't go. Please come back. But they don't come, well, they do come back, but they come back in the form of a corpse. And then they respawn just in time to see the entire enemy team roll into the area and just, you know, beat the hell out of everybody. And it is, I don't think, just the thing is, the people that I'm playing with, like, I'm not great with a good number of Overwatch characters. I know where my strengths are. Like, I know I'm decent at Roadhog, I know I'm decent at Soldier, I can pull off a decent Lucio if I need to, and I can pull off an okay Mercy if I need to. You know, there's characters that I am better with than others, and I gravitate towards those. And obviously everyone does that. You know, everyone's got their favourites, everyone's got those people that they've, I guess, trained more with, if you can call it training in quick play and all that stuff.
Well, it is.
But
no, it is. I mean, quick play, yeah. The quick play debate is, quick play, I mean, always play Overwatch to win. Don't be a dick and just go in there and try something stupid. But if you want to learn how to play Hanzo, you don't do it in competitive. You just play Hanzo in quick play.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But you still try with him. You don't just, like, die and go, oh, shit, lol, 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 I'm playing Hanzo, I've jumped off the map. No, because that's stupid.
No. But it's like, the people that I'm playing with, it would be totally harsh and unfair of me to say that there's, like, I'm just playing with people who have no mechanical ability. Because they do. Like, there's people going around wrecking face when they actually get there, but there's no actual communication. It's like, it's all very well having Like, I mean, in one game we had like we were fighting against a pretty much like god tier Reaper who was wrecking everybody, literally everyone. It was absolutely ridiculous. The rest of his team, though, were all over the place. Like, they were sort of everywhere and nowhere, and we still managed, even though he was destroying us by and large, to take it to... I can't remember how many rounds it was. It was getting a bit daft in the end. But, I mean, we lost that in the end. But I could... You know, you could tell there was no communication. You know, he was mechanically great, and he was doing a good job of shutting us down every now and again. But, you know, you'd respawn, and you'd have 4 of my team on the point against 2 of theirs, and Reaper would be trying to kill me at my spawn. And it's like, okay, you obviously know what you're doing with Reaper, but what are you here for? You know?
You know what? I
Like,
think people have got a problem
for?
with not doing anything. I think that's what's sending people crazy. Like, they always want to be in the action. They always want to be taking part of something. So that Reaper example of Reaper pushing way too far forward and then dying, that is like crazy behaviour. But for him to stand there after he's wiped out your team and like wait for the point to capture and wait for the rest of the dead guys to come back before he makes the push is probably alien to him, because he wants to go forward and still keep doing damage. Of course, what they don't realise is that's great, he's going to go forward, but all the dead guys that you've just killed are going to respawn and then kill you. Yeah. And then your attack is then only 5 guys. I experienced a little bit of this. Like, I've been shouting down the microphone, like, don't push too far forward, guys. Guys, come back, come back. Don't go too far forward. Because you can get the bloodlust, and you can be like, oh god, I've killed a guy, I'm going to rush forward and just keep killing them. It's like, no, no, no. What you want to do in Overwatch is always fight at the designated choke points. That's why the maps are designed like they are. So the attacking, it's always harder for the attackers, right? It's a fact. Defenders have generally got the advantage because you're set up and you're waiting for them to move in. It depends how good the attack is. It depends where the attack comes from. It depends if it's a split attack. It's not just like one push through the middle or whatever. But a lot of the time, if you're defending, you should possibly have the advantage. Now, if you're like Hanamura, the first point in Hanamura, I've seen guys do this, and it would... I've seen it in quick play, to be honest, and it triggers me. You'll see people who want to defend beyond the gate of the first point, and they want to defend like in and around the arcade, and it's like, what are you doing? Never do that. Route 66 as well is a good one. So, you know when you're defending on Route 66, there's a gas station called Big Earl's.
Yeah.
And it's just round the corner. It's not on the start of the game where the smashed up train carriages are by their spawn, by the diner. It's what you want to do is defend on top of Big Earl's, right? You want to control the high ground, and then you want the enemy team to come around that corner into the choke, and then you want to hit them hard. Now, most teams will want to defend actually on the payload. Now, that's a really bad idea, because think about this. How close are you to the enemy spawn? If you kill one of them, they're going to be back within a few seconds. So it's like, okay, well done, but they're back. If they kill one of you, it's going to take you a long time to get back into the fight. Now, if you were defending on Big Earls and your Reaper gets a few good couple of kills and then pushes forward through the tunnel and goes down towards the spawn and then dies, that is bad play, like really bad play, because you've got to stay together. Like, when I say stay together, I don't mean everybody sits on top of each other. I mean you stay in the same area. You defend the area. You work as a unit. You don't just run off.
You need to have like
you're starting to make
cohesion,
me think. Yeah, you're starting to make me think. What I need to do is maybe make some videos that are just sort of showing you where to defend and like where to attack, and just say like, I mean, it seems crazy to me because it's just attack as a team. Like, a lot of problems are solved if you just go in together. Just go in together. That's
honestly,
what I want to say.
It feels like the people that I'm playing with are, most of them are perfectly good with the characters they pick. Like, they're not terrible. They're not idiots. They're not like, you know, you don't see soldiers running in firing wildly at the floor or anything. They are mechanically perfectly able, and in quite a few cases, I've seen people on my team, on the other team, who I'd happily just go, that guy is way better than me.
Like, based off these stats on Overwatch, you are mechanically capable of playing Roadhog to like a top 20% level of Roadhog.
Yeah, it's just there's just like a lack of understanding of the actual basics of the game, like the foundations of what you need to do to win. I feel like that is what is basically lacking from a lot of the players, where, you know, people just run away from the payload, they'll run off the objective, they'll chase the enemy down, they'll push way too far out, you know, and the lack of communication is like, you need to have the basic knowledge of the game, don't you? Like, what you need to do to win. Communication obviously plays a huge part of that, and not being able to communicate properly. Because even though, yeah, you could say, well, you know, why aren't you just using text? You know, if people can still read the text. They can't just avoid that. It's, you know, it's on the screen. They can see it. There's a lot of things you can say with your voice that come off as just being like superior via text. Like, it's a lot quicker to type Hanzo switch
what's that
than
called?
it is to say.
Is it, you can't show inflection or something like that?
Yeah,
with
you
text.
can't.
Like,
there's no tone in text, and I think, you know, the nature of the internet being as it is, a lot of people, they will see like
they go on the defensive straight away.
Yeah, it'll be like switch Hanzo, and the response will be like, I said to someone, can you switch from Hanzo? Except I didn't say that because I was too busy trying to run and type. So I just said switch Hanzo, please. PLS, which is probably the worst way to do it. And his response was, I have gold for kills. And that was all he said. And I thought, well, okay, fair enough, you got gold for kills, but kills don't really win the game. And you sitting all the way at the back when we're trying to push and not actually assisting with that at all, and then aiming your ult at just nothing, like there's no one on the screen, you're just guessing where they might be, that's not helping that much. And you keep getting sniped by Widowmaker anyway, so why haven't you switched? And there's this kind of thing where if you could say it, if you could be like, hey man, I reckon if you switch out of this, we could get on this point right now. You know, you can say it enthusiastically, you can say it in a way that doesn't come across as just... You can change your tone, can't you? You can make it a positive thing, not the immediately negative thing that everyone assumes when someone types something out. Like, you just cannot convey tone of voice with text, and it's sitting there and typing away whilst you're trying to fight the enemy team. It's like the least efficient way to do it. It's just the worst. You shouldn't even need to have to try and do that. You should just be using voice, but no one does. Well, the problem,
but this is a whole other thing with, like, there's a whole world of anxiety that I was opened up to. I mean, you know what I'm like. I'm just like on the microphone straight away. Hello, how's it going? To me, it's normal, but there's a lot of people out there who don't want to use the microphone. So to use a voice chat, text chat is fine. I mean, the game's got the command wheel in which you can, like, say, group up here and stuff like that. And I think they're adding new stuff to that as well. So things like the enemy are attacking and like they're grouping up for an attack and stuff like that. I think
I mostly just see people spamming heal me over and over and over and over again.
Or you'll see more of that with Anna as well, because people think Anna is this main healer, and she's not. She's like a supplemental healer to an actual proper healer. So yeah, you get people who go, heal me, and they're hiding around the corner. It's like, all right then, well, you see, I have to shoot you to heal you, so I mean, I can't. Goodbye, and then they die. But anyway, Mr. Kirov, we'll leave this at that. This has been an interview with a rank 45 player. I want you guys in the comments to let me know in detail what you. Well, I tell you what, do this. Put your rank, and then just briefly explain your experience of playing around that level, and, like, I guess how you got to that level. Just any kind of, you know, general experience that you've had playing at that level, because I want to see where the game changes. I want to see at what skill rating does it suddenly become. Right, people understand what characters to play, who counters who, and kind of where to defend, and basic stuff like attack as a team, defend as a team, because it's quite clear that is not at rank 45. Mr. Kirov, who are you? Who are you, and what is your channel and all that good stuff?
I'm a wild Mr. Kirioth, and I have my own channel of Kirioth TV, which you can find at Kirioth TV. And I just do anything and everything: Overwatch, Let's Plays, Civ 5, anything I fancy playing goes up on the channel, and it's mostly supposed to be funny. But hopefully, some of it is.
Hopefully, like the gameplay footage you've been seeing in the background of this video, which is of course provided by Mr. Kirioth. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as ever, and I will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.